And we're live.
That was so fun, Tim. Hi, Tim. Hi, everyone. You added some snippets there. I don't know what they're called.
Who did I add? I took out Jeremy for this week, but I'll probably put him back again with the book. It's only because I did it as another video and then I couldn't really take it out. I changed the video of Deb to one where she was demonstrating some appliance she wanted to create, like this.
Yeah, you added Amanda, I saw.
Yeah, added both of Amanda's hats.
Which I love.
She definitely led you astray with Christmas hats. And
you added
I did Kate's design in the middle. Well, it's actually zoomed in. So
you know what that particular picture that you added, I don't know if you knew this or remember this. That's the picture and reason why I hired him.
Yeah. No, I knew it's significant. I just I couldn't exactly remember why.
Yeah, because it's that picture and then what he wrote underneath. I knew that he would be able. He had the heart and kind of vision behind what I had written. So that I'd like to see that. That was fun. Good job. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I've been working on automation lately. I'm actually doing a talk for the Digital Women Conference because clearly I'm a digital woman. With my big hair now, I can get away with a lot.
Tell me about the Digital Women Conference. I keep seeing it pop up on my Facebook. What is it?
Well, it's there's a digital women's group that for some reason I got invited to being a member of the Facebook group. That's because I know Lucy Hall runs it. Okay. Obviously, I wouldn't go in person to the Digital Women event, no, I mean they do. I mean, there's actually quite a big group. I'm not sure how. It's a couple of thousand women in it, I think, and they run regular training courses and things online for women, basically. I mean, in the UK, social media marketing is very dominated by women because of the nature of it. It kind of is. We're not meaning to be traditionalist here, but it can fit in quite well with people who are doing childcare jobs.
Yeah.
And actually, like I know men who are the people who are looking after the children, and a lot of them are social media marketers as well. So, and there's also the thing of the digital mums in the UK. They're an organisation where they train people up. They're not associated with the Digital Women Group, but anyway,
you're doing a talk for them. What are you talking about? What are you teaching?
Well, I was just in the process of trying to write one of my very rare blog posts, and I do write blog posts very rarely. During lockdown, I decided I was going to try and streamline some of my processes and things, given the extra time and all the rest of it. And I ended up, because on my phone, I've got keyboard shortcuts. So I don't know if you've got an iPhone. I think they're available on Android, but I don't know how to do it on Android.
Okay.
But for example, I'm on the Indie Author Twitter chat. Now, on my phone, I had set up hashtag IAC, and that auto expands to Indie Author Chat, hashtag Indie Author Chat.
Okay.
So I've got loads of things, and I've had that for a while because Apple's got it built in and text replacement thing on the phone.
Okay.
So I looked for a PC equivalent because I knew there was a Mac equivalent, but I haven't got a Mac, I've got a PC. And I came across this program called Phrase Express. But the funny thing was I looked at that and then I ended up looking at another product they use called Macro Recorder. Now, what Macro Recorder does is it records key presses and mouse clicks and basically things you do and lets you replay them. So I've been using it firstly for small things. So, for example, what I was trying to do before this broadcast was have it go down and click the overlay thing to come up and then click the go live button and then go and click like start the video thing. But for some reason, it just started the video. But basically, I've got so into all of this automation kind of stuff that I thought I would like to do a talk on it. And also I'm going to do a training course first on the automation side of things because there's so many people just repeating regular tasks on computers. So for example, what I've done with the Indie Author Chat you know the graphics I do for each question.
Yeah.
So that's always been driven from a spreadsheet where I had like every question. But what I used to do is go into Canva and copy in the thing, and then copy the image, and then copy the next question, then copy the next one in for like all 7 questions. But now I've got that automated, so I can just run a button. It goes onto the spreadsheet, looks up each question, and then creates a graphic from that.
So you don't use like Hootsuite or Buffer or anything to automatically.
Well, I could do. I mean, that's the next stage, is to take what I generate from there and then push it automatically. I mean, I remember when I was working on IT that there were always people. Oh, talking about people, here's Donut Man is in the comments, Mr. Son.
I think that was that was 3:35 a.m. He donated us at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, he did. Oh,
but for my time, that would have been.
Well, somebody's watching.
12 in the morning. I don't know.
But yeah, what was I talking about? I was talking about. I remember when I was working in IT that quality assurance, because it's a bit like writing, actually, software development, in as much as you get very talented software developers who think that their stuff doesn't need testing. And the very best ones, in some ways, it doesn't, because they don't make that many mistakes.
Okay.
But in general, you need quality assurance testing. You need somebody to go and test it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with very old software, there's so many things that you can do on a particular piece of software that one small change in a bit of software can break something anywhere. So the whole big thing was what they called automated testing. And they used exactly these kind of tools, not this exact one, but to record regular key presses and things that people did on the application. And then they run these scripts. And there was all this big sort of hype about, like, yeah, automated testing is going to replace all the manual testing that people did manually on these applications. Mm-hmm. But it never ever quite lived up to the promise. And now I've been experimenting with it. I know why. It's because there's all sorts of weird things that happen. So, for example, Canva just randomly added a menu item last week on one of their menu things. And I had my little thing was going across to where it thought the make a copy of this image was, clicked on it, and then it's like invert or something. And I'm like, what on earth is happening? And then it's and also sometimes it's like with StreamYard, which we're running at the moment. If you click go live at the right time, you don't get a pop-up message. It just goes live. But if you try and go live early, you get an extra pop-up menu. And obviously the clicky thing that I'm writing is clicking on it, thinking it's gone live, and it hasn't gone live.
Yeah.
So that's why it cut off the titles of the Tuesday show, because I suddenly realized that, I'll have to do it manually. I'll have to click go live. So there's a lot of automation, has so much potential for people, especially solopreneurs and certainly VAs and people like that who do lots of repetitive tasks. But it's not it's very easy to think it's a magic bullet that, like, you can just give somebody an automation tool and they'll be able to use it. There's a big learning curve to it. So I think what I'm going to do is create some courses to teach people how to actually kind of use these products for something vaguely useful.
Yeah.
I mean, keyword expansion is relatively easy to get right.
Yeah.
So that was what Phrase Express did. So you can basically set up every website you have that you might want to send somebody an email as a keyboard extension. So you don't have to type out like stoneandpress.com or whatever. You can just use XSTP or something like that.
Yeah.
But once you start getting into the macro side of things, it gets a bit more complicated. And it's simple things like it records the mouse going down to the taskbar and clicking on the other app. But it also the actual macro records the application name, so you don't need to do that, because otherwise, if you just leave that in, if you've got another application running you didn't have running before, it will click that.
Oh.
And then you get all sorts of weird stuff happening. So it's kind of interesting. I'm finding it interesting how I'm being drawn back into programming and economics and stuff that I did when I was younger now as I'm getting older.
This is interesting. So you're teaching the digital woman from the UK, and then you're going to teach something else. Did you say right after?
Well, the presentation I'm giving on the Digital Women course is for 20 minutes. So I'm basically just going to be able to do like, what is it? Why you should use it?
Okay.
Because I mean, if you think like, if you save even 5 minutes a week on a regular task that you do, you might think, well, that's not worth like spending a couple of hours getting, but like 5 minutes a week, it all adds up.
Yeah.
Especially if you're charging consulting rates for your time.
Yeah.
And every one of those little 5-minute things that you speed up or you get the procedure right makes a big difference. And people don't appreciate how much process matters in business.
Yeah.
And there's so many people doing so many things inefficiently. I mean, that's the other thing.
Yeah. Yes. So, and so many people are doing so much. So to cut down time would be phenomenal, especially those of us who are in the digital world trying to do 20 things at once. So you're in the future, would you run group classes, start a group and then run a class within a group?
Possibly. I don't know. I mean, it actually kind of makes sense to do group classes because it's quite complicated and there's a lot of people going to have questions.
Yeah.
And I can see people just asking the same questions all the time.
Yeah.
So I might have to do that, though. Of course, you've got the management of a group,
yeah.
which is its own problem.
This is what people don't realize is how much community management takes so much time. It really does.
Well, everything takes time. I mean, it's like because one of the things I've been experimenting with, which is part of the reason why I've been doing a lot of these clip videos, like intros things, apart from the fact they're fun to do.
Yeah.
Another thing I've been looking at is automating, taking snippets out of these videos for like, then stacking them up to create like promo videos for the show.
Yeah.
So like a 5 minutes, well, not even 5 minutes, like a 2-minute chunk of, let's say, Chrissy Buck's interview could go onto Twitter or something like that.
Yeah.
And because that is the best way to promote shows, is to take bits, quotes, clips, and the rest of it. But most people don't do it because it takes a long time to do manually. But in an automated way, you could do it pretty quickly. You've still got to be able to select the clips, though. That's probably the most time-consuming thing in a way. But if you take the same clip and then you can put that clip on LinkedIn, you put that out on Twitter, you change the hashtags on Instagram, etc., etc.
Which you asked me about LinkedIn. Were you able to get us on LinkedIn, or are we still waiting?
Well, we're not on LinkedIn for 2 reasons. I think I replied why. One, they haven't given me access to LinkedIn Live yet, which is the major reason. And the other reason is on the plan I'm on with StreamYard. You can only go to 2 places. And at the moment, we're already using them up with YouTube and Facebook.
Got it.
I found a great benefit of going onto YouTube is that it's really easy to download videos off YouTube. And the videos downloaded off YouTube are better than the ones in StreamYard. They're smaller and they're easier to work with. So I'm not actually downloading the recordings anymore. I'm just going to YouTube and downloading them from there instead. This free tool called 4K YouTube downloader. It keeps complaining all the time that it wants you to register, but I just ignore that because you just give it a link and it'll just download the software.
That's fascinating. I can't wait till we get some really cool sponsors for our show. That'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Yay! So
talking about business and new business activities, you are wearing a rather funky t-shirt.
I'm wearing a funky t-shirt. So I created a brand. Let everyone see. You can see I'm wearing shorts down there. Okay. Love is I'm wearing shorts.
It's not that kind of show.
I'm wearing shorts, everyone. It's okay. Love is our.
All the views have gone up.
I created a brand called Love is Our Superpower. And the reason I did that is one, my boys and I, for several years now, we probably, did I hear a noise? Oh, I'm getting, oh, that's so weird. Am I hearing myself through your microphone?
I can't hear you.
Oh,
but that might not, hang on.
It's okay. It's not too bad. It's when I'm talking loud. Okay, I know I'm talking really loud. So we created together a brand, and we wanted to bring a message that was universally love and collectively is our superpower, especially in the midst of this international crisis. So we had a couple of things that we had envisioned. One, the message. Two, we wanted to create a brand that we could give back for sure, based on some of our circumstances. So with this Love is Our Superpower brand, we wanted to give back to an organization that supports victims of domestic violence. So we have that twofold. So now I'm in the middle of a launch, and I'm trying to be really creative about the launch. I'm actually looking for people who will join my launch team. They will get one free product if they're willing to post, tag me, and then write a story about something they've learned about love. Nothing big, something that can easily go on Instagram. However, I mean, how many words is that? It's maybe 100 words, maybe less. I don't even know. Something small about just something they've noticed about collective kindness, about love. It could be even things like my neighbor brought me toilet paper and left it outside my door. I mean, just something that I can use to highlight love.
Maybe not use toilet paper.
I use that as an example because someone was leaving when the crisis first started. There was a big box outside of my door of toilet paper for all the neighbors to come and.
Oh, nice.
I never actually got there in time. It was outside of my door only because I'm right by all the mailboxes, and so it's a good place to leave it. So that's just one example I can think of. So that's what I want to highlight in social media. Get our brand out there so we can give back to the community. And then it's just been a dream of my boys and I to have a brand that makes a difference. And to be super, super honest, it gives my boys an opportunity to learn business hands-on with me saying, you can't mess this up. Like if you have a question, ask me. It's okay if you do something wrong. We'll work through it. This is a great learning opportunity for you to learn something. So we worked with a designer, hired a designer, worked with him. My boys gave a lot of input. We actually changed the design a couple of times. We hired a designer that was specifically retro in his, all the designs that he does. I looked at his portfolio and just thought, oh, this is really cool. We weren't even originally thinking retro, but as I started looking through his designs, I thought, you know what? That would be a neat way to match what we want to do, make it universal. Retro is neat. It never goes out of style. So we have tank tops, we have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have, what do you call them? Yoga pants, sweatshirts, onesies for babies, youth t-shirts.
You're definitely going the full range, aren't you?
We are.
So how can people buy these at the moment online somewhere?
They can go to teespring.com/stores/love-is-our-superpower. We could put the link up. Right now,
I think you might have to. It's quite long.
Right now, we're in the launch process. So anyone who purchases at this time, if they use code Erica Loves, all caps, Erica's my sister, Erica Loves, all caps, they'll get 10% off. And that's to hopefully help with the launch. So post and get the word out there and help us launch this brand that we really, really, really are hoping to, one, spread a collective message, and two, give back. So that's the brand. I'm going to send you a mug, Tim. So when we're both drinking our coffee.
Well, I mean, this shows the power. I've got a Pulse mug because they gave me free mug. So
we were talking off air that if you were to create a design, because you were kind of considering that a little bit, what would you put on your design? What would be your design?
I don't know. Could be anything really. The thing is, it's like I was asked for a logo for the Digital Women, and I've never created a logo for my brand. I've never had a logo.
Yeah.
Never really needed one. I don't know. I might put something witty on the glass, like the sort of whole thing kind of stuff I put back on the board.
Okay.
So yeah, but I mean, I'm intrigued. Like, how hard is it to set up one of these Teespring stores? I mean, you basically just digitally upload an image and then they shove it on?
Super easy. The reason I went with Teespring is, honestly, Tim, I needed something that would ship from there, and they handle all the customer service at this point.
Yeah.
I went with the easiest company to upload. They had good reviews. Obviously, every company is going to have some bad reviews. There are bad reviews out there, but for the most part, overall, everyone had good things to say. I looked at who their clients are. That's kind of what I was looking for. And it was super, super easy and friendly for people like me to just upload and create, and immediately creates for you. There's a lot to learn because I could have more merchandise. I could focus more on, right now, the big fad is exercise type attire. I could focus.
I've seen like masks with branded masks advertised.
Yeah, I have masks. Actually, I do have masks on my.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really, really easy to set up.
So basically, you're running the clothing store now online, aren't you?
I am. I chose it because it was super easy to set up, really easy to set up, and an easy way for my boys to learn business, an easy way to get up and running. Once we had the design, the hardest part, honestly, was the design.
Yeah.
Getting the design to that.
How much of a cut are Teespring taking? I mean, for the retail price of the T-shirt, how much are you getting and how much are Teespring getting? And
so that's the difference in, if I were to go to a local what do you call it, T-shirt kind of branding thing, I could do better. I could make more better, but I would be mailing it myself. I did this all for efficiency, so I don't get as much as I could if I were to do it differently. I was looking for
well, it sounds like with books, I mean, you don't necessarily, I mean, with books you can do print runs and get it a lot cheaper than doing print on demand on Amazon, but this sounds like a similar thing, but print on demand T-shirts and other products. So
I don't remember what the percentage is. I don't remember what the percentage is, actually.
You find out that every one you sell, you lose $50. And
no, I make at least 50%, but I can't remember what I think it's a little bit more than 50%, but I can't remember.
I'd look at the small print, because it's like with Amazon and their paperbacks. They say you get 50% royalties, and then it's like not including print costs. And it's like they take the money out. So I'd check whether it's actually 50%, but it probably is.
Yeah. I've already made money off of it, and it was a decent amount off of each product. So this is what works for me. I mean, people could research further and make more. A lot of this too now is the branding and the marketing.
Yeah.
Where this goes in, which is why it was so fascinating to talk to Amanda. Was it Amanda on Tuesday? It was Amanda on Tuesday, right? Yeah,
she was, yeah.
Fascinating to hear her marketing background, which is why I had personal questions for her. So, and I think I'm using this brand, much like you've used our show to kind of practice. I'm using this brand to practice my own marketing. I've marketed for other people, nonprofits, but never for myself. So I'm practicing and trying something unique and new.
Yeah. And it's funny, actually, Chrissy Buck seems to have started doing T-shirt designs and things as well. She's like one of your competitors now. So like, you'd all be like fighting about like.
We're all friends. Actually, I should send her a T-shirt. We could do a T-shirt exchange.
Yeah, she's got like digital neighborhood T-shirts now or something. So, well, I mean, in some ways it makes sense, because it's kind of it's a creative outlet.
If we cross market amongst people who are doing similar things, that's a great marketing strategy, because not everyone is going to wear. Hi, Tim Sohn. I talked to Tim Sohn this morning, by the way. We were in person chatting.
So coffee cups.
Coffee. Yeah. He's talking coffee.
Well, I wonder if you could do like branded coffee thing, like they put your design on the top of in the foam above the coffee.
I think you can. I've seen that. I've actually seen this.
They have little stencils, actually, don't they? Like they sprinkle the thing on, so you could take your little stencil around to your Starbucks or whatever and say like, "You do this."
I have seen where you can brand coffee online. If you go into
Chrissy Buck is awesome. Yeah.
You go into it. Chrissy Buck is awesome. She is. We need to do a t-shirt exchange. I think that'd be cool. Wouldn't that be cool? If you had coffee mugs, we could do a coffee mug exchange. T-shirt.
Maybe we should just do it. I'll do not another live show t-shirt and then and mug thing.
And what can you mail us? And we'll mail you something. Tim Sohn.
I don't think Tim Sohn will fit in the mail actually.
I need coffee overlays. I heard you can do GIF overlays too. I have seen on Shopify, if people are interested in Shopify, because I looked through that too, different things that you can brand, and coffee is one of them.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in Shopify because the whole e-commerce thing, they've got, I've had for a while actually a link into the Facebook store. So you can set up a Facebook, you can buy it, but they're now doing direct buying on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Which I think is limited to the US. There was a thing that was supposedly came to the UK, but I'm not sure it's come yet. I've never seen any buy button on Instagram. I've never really looked at Pinterest is supposed to have buyable pins, but I'm not really ever on Pinterest long enough to know they've got buyable pins. Well,
and Pinterest is supposed to be a really good way to promote. It's supposed to be one of the best ways, but I have never.
Yeah, well, again, it's like that is hopefully with my automation for the people, I can get around to actually
figuring out.
The queen of
Veronica Jeans is the queen of Shopify. She has a new book out too. Ooh, do you know her, Tim?
No, I've never heard of her. Oh well, he might have heard of her. Do you know her, Tim Sohn? Can we get on the show?
Have her on your show. She also likes giraffes. Yeah. That'd be fun. Oh, by the way, Tim Sohn, along with, I can't remember his name, Brian something. They do a Saturday show that I'm curious about. Are you going to go on it, Tim? Do you want to go on it with me? Do you want to go on Tim Sohn's show on Saturday with me? Tim,
this Saturday? Yeah, I think I can. What am I doing? Yeah, I think so. What is this Saturday? It's in July. Yeah. I may be doing something on the 1st of August, but yeah, this Saturday, I think I'm okay. I'm getting my hair cut tomorrow, so I'm not going to look like Krusty the Clown.
Oh, Tim is saying she's a frequent victim of Shout Out Saturday. That's what it is.
Yeah, he's invited me on a few times before, but it's kind of the timing's never really been good. But I think I might actually like A, work out when it starts. B, actually.
Go
it's
ahead.
like I meant to go on there. Listen to their Wednesday show this week because I knew the guest. I think it was this week, but I whatever reason I suddenly looked at the clock and it was like, oh, it's 6. So
the time. So we figured the time out this morning for me because he's 3 hours ahead of me, so he must be 5 hours behind you.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So
that's how it works. So
I think it's 9 o'clock for me.
It's 3 in the afternoon, or 3:30 at the moment on the East Coast.
Are we coming on Shout Out Saturday? Tim Sohn, I think we're going to come see you on Saturday. I'm excited. They do. He said they do. What they do? They change their faces. What's that called? They use some kind of app.
Oh, yeah. It's like there used to be the Snapchat, a Snapchat desktop filter you could use and then use that to live stream out. But I haven't installed it on this computer. There's also an app called MSQRQ that used to have like the Angry Birds head. It was amazing. We're doing live streaming.
That's so funny. Okay, let's go on Shout Out Saturday. I'll make sure I'll make sure my alarm is set. I get up and I'm there. This will be fun.
Yeah, just let us know when you want us. Basically, an hour or two beforehand.
I think we just show up and then we pop in.
Show up and pop in.
We just pop in. It's that's what I figure. He'll probably email us now that we've chatted about this. What's behind your head? Did you already show us this? It will be okay. I don't remember if you showed me before the show, or if it was during the show. It
was not long ago. Okay. Ooh. Which one of these views? Like, do people like this view or this view?
I like myself smaller.
I think with two of us, this works okay. Actually, for those little promo video introductions, these work a lot better for zooming in to people.
You look like a radio talk show host right now.
You've got the Elvis mic.
You have the Elvis. You look
Shure 55 SH, which is a cardioid dynamic microphone or something. The funny thing with microphones is that there's so much kind of misinformation about microphones, in that there are two types. There are dynamic and what's the other kind? Cardioid, I think they're called, or something like that. And lots of people got confused, but they actually don't really, whether they're dynamic or not doesn't make any difference. It's what you're interested with voice microphones is where it picks the sound up from.
Mm-hmm.
So this mic is usually pretty good for just having like a cone kind of like here that it picks up, which is probably because if I turned it towards you, you'd probably start hearing echo again.
Hello? Hello?
Did you say echo?
Echo? Echo? No, I don't hear anything.
Oh, okay. Well, so much for that theory then.
Why I was echoing.
But yeah, I mean, that's I don't know why I went on that tangent about microphones, but it's really interesting, the whole audio world, because it's different from the computer world.
Mm-hmm.
Computers have moved to the fact where, like, the simplest, like, computers used to have really complicated cabling and the rest of it, but they've all just gone down to nice USB sockets and like fun things where you just plug it in. But the audio world, all of the connections and things, you can easily buy the wrong cables. I've got a whole box of totally the wrong audio cables where I bought the wrong ones, because they've got different connectors on the end of them. They've got about 5 different connectors on each of the end of the cables. And even with the right connectors, if the cable's the wrong sort of cable, it can not work. And you need to know basically what kind of cable to use between two audio components.
This is why I was asking Tim and Jim when they came on, and you, what kind of microphone I get. Because that whole cable thing, do I need a adapter? Do I need all that?
I would just, I mean, for most people, you just need to buy something like a Blue Yeti USB mic and just plug it in your computer.
Okay.
And maybe a set of earphones or something. In podcasting circles, they talk about ATR 2100 mic. There's another one that's a bit more expensive. Yeah. And the reason for using that one is it's got both a USB and XLR, which is what the audio mics use. The professional kind of mics that singers and people in studios use are XLR mic. So they've got this. I can't show you. I could show you, but then I'll lose all my volume. What an XLR cable looks like. Yeah, but as soon as you get into audio equipment, you get basically about a 10% improvement in quality for around 90% of more hassle. So, well, unless you're totally an audio snob.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching a YouTube video today where somebody was talking about some historical thing to do with the London Underground, and I don't know where the guy recorded the audio from, but you could hear rain and dogs barking and all sorts of stuff in the background.
What's interesting?
So you can still be successful even with terrible audio, but I think.
Go ahead. I keep interrupting you.
But I think, like, in general, most things with microphones, most things with audio there's a little bit of money you need to spend. You need to spend on a decent USB one that you plug in. Don't use the onboard mic of the computer. I mean, even they're getting a lot better, but you do get the echo effect because unless you plug earphones in, obviously it's going to pick up some of the sound coming out of its speakers. Yeah, and that's where you get the loop round. But if you buy a decent microphone that's directional, So, because the thing is, for a singer, somebody who's singing, and certainly for music, you want the sound all around. So, a microphone for like a stage performance band, you want it to pick up all of the sound from all around. But for a podcast or a video show like this, you just want it to capture your voice.
Yeah.
And one tip that I learned, I mean, they have these things called pop filters, and this is because when you say particular words, popping, Peter pops, pop, you get a p sound. They can really like jar on the microphone, and these are supposed to prevent them a bit. But an easy way, which is what I also do, which I saw this Australian DJ guy who said, just like, don't talk directly into the microphone, talk at a slight angle. So you'll notice that I'm talking this way, I'm not talking towards it. So that's a good tip as well for avoiding a lot of those clipping and popping noises and other things. There's all sorts of things you can get wrong with sound and microphones, but it's actually, a lot of people blame the equipment when it's just they're not doing something right. They're doing like some weird thing, or they're in a building site or something.
Yeah. I'm surprised at the sound, because I do have a lot of background noise, and listening to our videos back, I've been surprised that I haven't heard that on our videos.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a garbage man drive by and the truck and be really noisy, and I haven't ever heard that, anything like that in the video. And I thought it was very loud. So I've been surprised at how our sound has masked that just by using my computer. And
well, also StreamYard has got an audio processing feature in it. It's got noise reduction built into it, as I noticed. So it might be that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I wish StreamYard did, and I could actually do myself with this particular interview, is I wish it would let you download the different audio tracks separately. So audio tracks is a weird concept. Well, it's not weird, really. It's a kind of a normal concept, but in with sound or with audio, you have basically audio sources. So like with this interview, one audio source is my mouth. The other audio source is your mouth. And those are in effect two channels. So the problem with like what you see as the final result on the live broadcast and on the recorded one is that if there's a big bang on your side, but I'm talking, it's really hard to remove the bang if I happen to be talking at the same time, because the two noises are mixed together in the final edit. So if you can have both audio tracks separately, then anytime I'm talking, you can just mute your side of it, and then you improve the audio quality of some interviews quite a bit by just doing that. So it's like you have one person talking, you just mute the other person, so their dog's barking or they're screaming at somebody, or go. It's like it's irrelevant because they're not the person talking. Okay. And also noise. You can do lots of noise removal stuff, of background noise on these audio products like Audacity. And they work really well on one channel because, like, say I've got a fan in the background or something, it can remove that. But as I say, StreamYard does quite good noise removal itself. I think somewhere it's got an audio processing feature to it, which you can turn off.
Well, my goal is, Tim, by the time social media marketing world allows us to meet in person, I have a microphone so we can go live from somewhere near social media marketing world and see our friends in person, like Tim and who did we say? Chrissy Buck and
Tim Jim
King, all
King.
and actually at that point we'll have, so next week we're having Vince and Judy on, and they are San Diego based. So maybe Vince will go to social media marketing world. Wouldn't it be fun? We can see everyone.
Fingers. I mean, I've got a feeling. That you probably have to wait until social media marketing world for the next big conference I go to. Which would be ironic that, like, well, I did actually go to a self-publishing conference immediately after social media marketing world in London. But even then, they had to reduce the capacity. Well, actually, they didn't reduce the capacity. Like a third of the people didn't turn up because they were worried about COVID.
Yeah.
Which I suppose in hindsight is kind of like, well, yeah, I suppose so. But at the time, I was like, yeah.
Social media marketing world is in March? Is that
I think it's the 27th of February. So it starts on Sunday again. Every couple of years they move it from like Sunday to the Wednesday. It's better when it starts on a Wednesday and finishes on a. But I can see why they do it starting on a Sunday. It's because it's a lot cheaper venue hire for their park party and stuff on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And if they do it on the Friday night. So
and people from around the world. What do you think is the dominant? Does UK show up in large quantity?
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of years, it's probably about, I don't know, 150 people from the UK, something like that.
It seems
I don't
like.
know. Oh, breaking news.
Anybody eating donut today? Why is there breaking donut news? There's something we should know about. You know, Tim Sohn, when you come here, you need to do a donut tour because we have quite a few donut spots that I feel like you might need to take pictures at or publicize or try out. San Diego became a really big donut craze for a while. I think I talked about this at one point, but anyways, we were going to talk about something. Do we have time to talk about that now?
We were going to talk about freedom. Freedom. Oh, yesterday was actually National Hot Dog Day. Oh, hey? Oh.
It's going places.
I was thinking of that comment. It's going places actually a thing. It will be again.
Someday it will be a thing again. In foodie world, it's a huge thing to go get.
It might be that we have to have little robot avatars. Oh, I love this show. Oh, thank you, Tim. Maybe we'll have to have a little robot avatar thing so that like we won't be attending social media marketing. Well, we'll be sending our little robot thing that you can put your T-shirt on this little robot that you send around. Like you're at home with a little remote control, going like.
What are those things called that you fly and you fly it in?
Oh, drone. Oh, yeah. That could be even worse.
We're gonna have drone. We're gonna have drone parking spots and drone seating. Your drone has its own seat or airspace.
We'll be able to eat. Yeah. Apparently, there's. I think this device exists. There's a little drone that you can have follow you around with a camera on it. I can't remember what it's called, but if you're a really vain social media influencer, you can have like this little drone that just follows you around with a camera, so it's like always recording what you're doing.
Oh my goodness! It's so you don't have to have a camera because influencers will hire people to follow them around with cameras and what have you. I have seen it firsthand. Donuts eating in drones. Donut seating in drones. Donut seating in drones. So I feel like you need to market these hashtags. Like, I don't know, coffee mug.
Hashtag. So we were going to talk about freedom. Well, we got a crappy quiz, which is basically me just rehashing an old quiz. But let's talk about freedom.
All right, Tim. This has been a topic of conversation for the past several weeks. I am marketing them right here. He's marketing the donut. He gets the donut. Oh, when you have the T-shirts, Tim, we'll trade. Let's trade.
T-shirt.
Crappy
quiz. Crappy quiz. Yeah, well, I'm bored. Oh, yeah. Well, it was somebody on TikTok, this slightly sarcastic English woman who was replying to a comment that somebody American had put on a thing saying about, like, we're the number one free country in the world. And actually, yeah. And then she pointed out to like there's the I think the Economist or somebody does this freedom index, and the US is like number 17 in the world freedom index.
Freedom as a
I suspect Dunkin' Donuts may be number 1 on the freedom index. That is, yeah. I haven't actually bothered to look up where in the world is. I think it may be somewhere like Sweden or Norway or Denmark or somewhere.
the most free. Is that what you said?
Number 1 in the world freedom index. I think it might be somewhere like Denmark, but I don't know.
God. You know what? Actually, I would like to see the list of free. I'm curious.
Index 2020.
I'm really curious. Most free country in the
World Press Human Freedom Index. Let's try that one. There's quite a few of these. Oh god, it's like I don't know which one they were looking at. There's one weird site I've got with
Tim Son is thinking of that song Freedom now.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of Braveheart actually. It's like
oh my goodness, that
is such an inaccurate film in basically every historical way possible.
But what is that phrase he says that he comes out and says something really loud and it's like all hearts and soul stirring? I'm forgetting what the phrase is.
Oh yeah, this is the one. Like so, the top 10 jurisdictions in order was Switzerland, Hong Kong, which clearly isn't anymore, New Zealand, Ireland, Australia, Finland, Norway, Denmark, Netherlands, United Kingdom. And you got Canada, Sweden, and then down here is the United States.
Okay. So I'm curious what they define freedom as.
Yeah. Uses 79 indicators in the following areas. Rule of law. Well, you haven't got any of that anymore. Identity and relation. What the hell does that mean? Don't know.
I'm so curious about this. Can you send me this link after? Okay, so this is what they define freedom as: rule of law, security and safety, movement, religion, association, assembly, civil society, expression and information, identity and relationship, size of government, legal system and property rights, access to sound money, freedom to trade internationally. Oh, thank you. Regulation of credit, labor, and business. The HFI is the most comprehensive freedom index so far created for a globally meaningful set of countries. This is based on 2015, it looks like. Beginning in the earliest year for robust index could be produced. And then can you scroll down just a tiny bit? On a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 represents more freedom, the average human freedom rating for 159 countries in 2015 was 6.93. Among countries included in this report, the level of freedom decreased slightly compared with 2014, with 61 countries increasing their ratings and 97 decreasing. The level of global freedom has decreased slightly, with about half of the countries in the index increasing. Okay. This is
so you probably got minus 20 points for your crappy coffee.
We're okay.
Yeah, I mean it's like, but it is a funny thing because I think the US was ahead of a lot of the rest of the world for a very long time in terms of like civil liberties. I think like UK and France and places like that have always been near, but again, a lot depends on definitions.
What for me, it depends on how do you define freedom.
Yeah.
And each of us are defining freedom differently. And living in the US and talking to people from around the world, which, by the way, is why I'm so fascinated to talk to people around the world to get a different perspective. But how Americans traditionally tend to define freedom is very different than people around the world. And you can tell me if I'm right or wrong here, Tim, but freedom isn't even necessarily a topic of conversation the way it is here in America.
Well, you don't really hear it talked about, but then again, in many ways, I'm not sure that that has any relevance to say about how free somewhere is, really. I mean, you could argue that, and this is what I was actually thinking, and where I started thinking from this was a lot depends on economic inequality, because it doesn't really matter how many opportunities you've got if you've got no money.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, certainly in the current lockdown, I mean, freedom, I mean, it's a reasonable thing that people are complaining about having to wear masks, because it is an imposition on their freedom. But on the other hand, you could argue that for somebody who's got no money anyway, it doesn't really make that much difference. Because money in itself is almost a way of giving people freedom. So let's say you suddenly decide that the old t-shirt business doesn't work and you want to start a llama farm. You are perfectly allowed to save up your money and buy a llama and stick a little sign on it saying like $5 to pet the llama, and that's your first thing in your llama farm. Now, if you were living in sort of the Soviet Union, you're not necessarily going to have that freedom, because the llamas would be allocated by the central like Politburo or the local Politburo. So unless you got promoted up into the senior ranks of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, you couldn't really start a llama farm. So that is one benefit of capitalism. But the trouble is, if you have no money to you can't even afford one llama to start your llama farm, then that's kind of like, well, that's a disadvantage of capitalism in the other way.
If we're talking about freedom and capitalism and kindness, who is actually free? I mean, is it the people at the top of the financial scale? Are they more free than the people at the bottom? Are we both free?
Well, I mean, I've known people who have been earning like ridiculous amounts of money, and yet within their own, they almost live in a sort of a gilded cage, in as much as they think they've got to have an enormous mortgage for the property they've bought, like a multi-million-pound house somewhere in central London. They've got children who they have to send to the private schools because that's what everybody else they do does. So actually having a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that you're free. And also, like, societal expectations. I mean, to somebody in, like, I don't know, Rwanda or somewhere, which is probably not fair, because Africa's actually coming up really well in the last 20 years or so. But somewhere like Mauritania, somewhere. Somebody in Mauritania would look with envious eyes on the amount of resources and life you have.
Yeah.
Obviously, you would compare yourself to like people in the US, and obviously there will be people at the homeless shelter who probably compare themselves to you. So everything's all a bit relative in terms of freedom and kind of. So it's a very interesting topic, actually, and I don't think it's necessarily as clear cut as people would like to say.
Well, and you brought up a point. If we're bound to our debt, are we? I mean, we're not really financially free. We're bound to something.
Yeah.
And are we truly free if someone is financially over someone else? Are we free if we're not making decisions based on the ultimate good of all people? This is such a big conversation. And, you know, actually pertaining to the financial thing, Jeremy that we had on talked about a book. I think it was called Debt.
Yeah.
How debt keeps you imprisoned. I think it was called Debt. And he said he didn't necessarily subscribe to everything in there, but it gave us a history of debt. And here what we have in America is an entire nation imprisoned by debt. So I'm actually really curious to read this book. I think it would be really good.
Kind of, well, I mean, I haven't had any debt for about 8 years now, and it makes a tremendous difference. But the thing is, you don't have to necessarily. A lot of it is societal pressure.
Yeah.
And certainly the US is even worse than the UK for this, because you always have to pay a stupid amount of money for college fees. So voluntarily taking on college debt, and then you're voluntarily taking on, and certainly in the bigger cities, you're taking on mortgage debt so that you can get a flat or something, some tiny rabbit hutch close to the center of New York or whatever.
Which way our here in San Diego, our rent is, if I told you how much we pay in rent at the cheapest, you would.
Yeah, I mean, but this is one of the really empowering things about the new economy. Like, we can work. You can run your t-shirt business from anywhere.
Yeah.
I can write books and sell online courses from anywhere. I don't have to be in part of London. In fact, I probably shouldn't be in the part of London I'm in. And that is tremendously empowering.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to go, like, there's loads of places in the world where you could, I mean, places in the Midwest where you could probably buy a house for 1 month's rent, or well, maybe not, but maybe like Montana or somewhere. But yeah, I mean, so much of it is we just like follow the path of what we think we should do in life.
Mm-hmm.
And often we limit our freedom ourselves by becoming, in effect, indentured servants who are paying off stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of people I know who were like saving for retirement, they were waiting to retire. They built up these enormous pension pots, and then they're just too ill to do anything.
Yeah.
They get to 65, 70, and it's like, oh yeah, we're going to travel the world. Oh, I'm too ill to now. And that's why I'm kind of glad that I'm never really ever semi-retired. I've been accused of semi-retiring. But there is a case. I mean, I could have carried on working and gone to, like, bought a big flat in the middle of London and something, and got a new mortgage and all the rest of it. But I didn't. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of freedom, lack of freedom is self-imposed. People are frightened of doing stuff that nobody they know's done.
Yeah.
So if you don't know anybody who's written a book, you don't know anybody who's created an online course, you don't know anybody who's done t-shirt designs, it's very much more intimidating than if you do know people doing that sort of thing.
Yeah. For me to be able to work from home and then be able to work from anywhere, and at the same time, make money to provide for my family, because I'm a single mom. I have to be able to make money to provide for my kids, and 2, to be able to have the freedom to travel when we're allowed to again. And then 3, be able to give back in that way. I've always worked, not always, for the most part, I have worked in a nonprofit sector. So I've been able to give back in the work environment, but to be able to create a business where I can financially provide for my family and give back, to me, that's personally financial freedom. That's business freedom, to not subscribe to the 9 to 5. And not everyone, I suppose, is able to do that. But this topic is so big, and I would love to bring on Tim. Like I said earlier, people like maybe someone like Jeremy Mark Rich, because he has such an interesting view on the topic. And then also, if we could get James to come on, perhaps. I've learned a lot from him too, just having an outside voice, a voice outside of America, because we think of it as one thing versus the rest of the world. And to hear that perspective is a whole other.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not entirely sure what the American view of freedom is, whether it even makes sense. But
it's a topic that we are raised in. It's a culture that we are raised in. And as I've hit my 40s, I don't necessarily subscribe to what I was raised to believe freedom is.
Well, I mean, I think there are important good points about US freedom. One of them is the whole business thing.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was really into economics, when I was about to do it at university, I remember reading this report in The Economist magazine, which has actually always been a brilliant magazine, nothing really ever to do with economics and such. Yeah. But apparently, like in Ecuador and a lot of South American countries in the 1980s, it took 2 years to do the paperwork to start a company. And you compare that to somewhere like the US, where probably do it in like half an hour. I think that having that business infrastructure that you can just start projects, you can just do a thing. You don't have to get approval from some local business like admin person in the government to do a particular thing. I think those are very fundamental freedoms which the US has had for a long time. I don't think the right to bear arms is really like the thing, but to some people that's an important freedom. In terms of, I'm trying to think of other. I mean, I think the trouble is like we've not lived in a proper communist system like people from Eastern Europe have, or certainly people in Eastern Europe especially. We've never really ever lived. No, most people we know have never lived under totalitarian regime.
Yeah.
We don't know how lucky we are in many ways for the freedoms we do have. But we tend to, as I say, we tend to flush our own freedoms down the toilets by just voluntarily indenturing ourselves into people and like taking on unnecessary debt and stuff rather than. And the way that the online business community is at the moment, it's never been a better time to. You can live anywhere. You can live somewhere cheap, start an online business, and if you want to move back to somewhere expensive. I mean, I wonder with the lockdown whether that is going to make a lot of central city locations. A lot of companies will think, well, why are we paying to have this central city location when everybody was working from home? Okay.
Yeah.
Why not have offices outside the main city and let people from the other side of the city work from home or something along those lines? So I could see that city centre life could actually be on the wane again.
And not even really necessarily need to have offices and have to pay those rental fees and electricity and all that.
I think it makes sense here anymore. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, having this conversation with you Americans, it's like there's certainly a bit of like the decline of an empire feeling about the US, but I'm not even sure necessarily it's going to be. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think everybody's just going to like forget about the US and look at China as the new global superpower anytime soon.
No, but I think we can look at examples of America has a history of looking down on other countries as if they're less than us. We're the one supreme world power. But if we start to talk and interact with people from those countries and other countries, we realize, wait a minute, that's not necessarily true. What's actually going on here? Let's actually talk about what's going on here with their medical system and how it may or may not work, and compare that to what is and isn't working here in America. The truth of the matter is, when everyone gets medical coverage in the UK, maybe it's not perfect, but not everyone here in the US gets medical coverage. So
Christelle, 2020.
Over president.
Kanye West is your vice president.
Conversation. Okay, I want to end with this because this could go on and on and on. But if my freedom infringes upon the freedom of someone else, and I'll use this as an example, not to stir the pot, perhaps I am, let's be real. If my freedom and right to bear arms infringes upon someone else's freedom because I have the gun in my hand and they don't, is the person who doesn't have the gun in their hand free? It's a question. And I'll leave it at that. It's such a conversation that.
So now we're going to get firebombed by, is it Second Amendment? What's the amendment for is it Second Amendment, the one with firearms, right to bear arms or whatever?
Honestly, we need a British president. Can we? Honestly.
It was actually, they were saying everybody could wear T-shirts, have bare arms, and they just miswrote it in the US Constitution.
What a meme. What a meme.
I might do I could do a T-shirt with the right to bear arms, as in
we're going to market it in the US. I say go for it.
I'll probably get lynched, so I don't think I'll
market it in the US. All I have to say is if my freedom infringes upon the freedoms of anyone else's, who's really free? So with that said, let's bring some guests on from outside the US and inside the US and let's get some perspective here, because unless we are talking to people internationally, how much perspective do we have?
Well, I think that's the problem with the US. It's also a problem with in China, actually, because I mean, China and US are very similar in that big countries. There's so much you can do. You can experience so much just in the US. I mean, you can so many different environments and weather and like cultures within the US. You don't need to go anywhere else, really. And I mean, Mexico's not that dissimilar to the South, like the Texas and that part of the US, and Canada's not that dissimilar really to. So you need to get out of North America to get better. I mean, even the UK is not that different.
Yeah,
I mean,
perspectives are enough different to have the conversation and start thinking outside of our bubble here. I mean, it gives us perspective. Canada has everyone gets medical there. Why? And what does that mean for you?
Yeah.
Everyone's getting, I think, $2,000 a month, at least in the midst of the crisis. I think I read that. I would love to have a conversation with someone in New Zealand or Australia, South America, anywhere, honestly. Let's get this perspective on what does that mean to you. Brazil.
So on that note, I think we've run out of time for the quiz. But next week, well, the quiz I had for you was Eurovision or Star Wars characters.
Oh, I'm right now. That is... Let's do it.
We could do it now if you like. You may notice, though, that there's a slight similarity to some of the answers of the last one.
I mean, well, I think we should wait till next week. And I think that we should continue the freedom conversation, but bring guests on. I want to hear a different point of view.
Yeah. Okay. So am I going to play the outro music?
The outro, yes.
The outro music is exactly the same as it was because I haven't had a chance to do it. I was thinking of doing a miserable montage because there's a lot of people who've talked about mental illness, and I could have done a sad music thing and like people talking about it. But
hope. There's hope. There's hope in there, Tim.
I say that. Have I got rid of the outro? What did I do? Oh, hang on. This is where I'm having to talk while I actually try and upload the. Oh, let's just play the intro again. I like the intro. Let's just do the intro again. So anybody who missed the intro at the start, I'm going to play it again because I haven't uploaded the outro yet. So here we go.
Here.